Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I'm Sean Anderson, the Most Valuable Podcast, and really I could say the Fast Break because we're doing the Fast Break comment reply, I guess. We're going through this past week of Fast Break videos and replying to your comments. So we're going to be talking about should the Celtics trade the #1 pick, should the Lakers trade the #2 overall pick for Paul George, and then the LeBron versus Michael discussion that we had was pretty much with LeBron James making another finals. Will he become the greatest of all time? We'll go through your comments. First up, we have Nacho Libre, and on that Celtics video, he said, no, they should take Fultz this year, maybe Ayton or Porter next year, because even if they trade it for Butler or George, it probably still won't be enough to beat LeBron. They're better off just drafting young talent with the Nets pick and waiting for the Cavs window to close in a couple years and then taking over the East. And even if they don't trade the pick, they can still sign Hayward and compete now. And I completely agree, Nacho. I mean, you look at what we've said in that video, and I was in agreement with you. Ricky, it's got me saying words that are made up. I agree with you there, and that was pretty much the sentiment that I shared on the Fast Break as well. It's pretty much, you got to wait until that window's open, or that window's closed, because right now, you look at LeBron, he's the greatest player that I've seen, and wasn't around for Jordan. LeBron's the greatest player that I've seen, and he's still not slowing down. And you look at him, he's 32 years old. We know around 40 years old, the body does break down, and you look at what Markelle Fultz will be able to do, what you look at, what you've laid out with Ayton or Porter in next year's draft, especially with that Nets pick that the Celtics do have. You'll be able to bring in more talent there. You have Jaylen Brown. You have a lot of players that could do damage on this team. I think you just got to wait until that window's closed, or when LeBron's just a little bit older and a little bit later on into his career, because you look at what the Cavs are doing right now, and it's really ridiculous what LeBron's been able to do and what Kyrie's been able to do, who's still young. I mean, Kyrie's still 26, 27 years old. Kevin Love's still young as well. He does have some injury problems, and his window might be closing sooner than LeBron or Kyrie's might be, but still, you look at the youth that this team could really, I don't know what word I'm thinking of, build up. The youth that this team could build up. I think I was trying to make up a word with accrue. I think accrue might be a word. But anyways, this youth that this team could build up, and then especially with this position that they can be in, where Markelle Fultz and Jaylen Brown, Jaylen just being in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Markelle Fultz possibly being able to get back to the playoffs next year with this Boston team, with Isaiah Thomas still being around, this team could get a lot of experience, and a lot of experience that a lot of rookies don't get. So it can be very interesting, the experience that Markelle Fultz can get playing underneath Isaiah Thomas, playing with Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and then also playing with Jaylen Brown. So it's going to be interesting. I think the youth of the Celtics team is going to be what really takes them later on, and I think that's what Danny Ainge really wanted when he made that trade for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. He knew that LeBron's window might be closing around this time, and if you get the youth that will be ready to go and be superstars in the next 4 years, and LeBron's around 36 years old, that's when you can really attack LeBron. And when LeBron's getting older, that's when you could attack LeBron. So I completely agree with you there, Nacho Libre. And next comment, we have Theo Roger. I think I'm saying that right. He's got an asterisk there over his name. Theo Roger, he says, with the #1 pick, the Utah Jazz draft Markelle Fultz. They trade the first overall pick, the Celtics do, Jay Crowder, Amir Johnson, and top 3 protected 2018 first-round pick, which would probably be the Nets' 2018 pick. So you're going to top 3 protect that pick for Rudy Gobert, Trey Lyles, and first-round pick in 2020. Now, I think you're pretty much playing fantasy ball here, Theo. And I think you're pretty much putting in a lot of NBA 2K in this. I mean, you look at it, and I understand with your reasoning, you do go into a lot of in-depth reasoning into that video. So if you do want to check out his full comment and his full reasoning, go over to that Celtics video and check out Theo's comment. But I understand where you're going for, but then again, I'm going back to what Nacho said, and it's pretty much that window is so open right now for the Cavs to jump through, and it's still going to be open even if you add a guy like Rudy Gobert, even if you add Trey Lyles. And Trey Lyles is still young. You need to go past that window. You need to go past that window that's going to be open for LeBron. You need to build up for the future. And Rudy Gobert's still a young player. Trey Lyles still a young player. But you're getting rid of Markelle Fultz. And then you look at Isaiah Thomas. He's getting older. You really don't have that heir apparent to Isaiah Thomas. You have to get someone like a Markelle Fultz that can take that team. You can find a guy like Rudy Gobert. You can find a guy like Trey Lyles. You can find younger pieces down the line. But we talked about this on the Fast Break. The pool of talent in the point guard position is so deep that if you look at a guy like Markelle Fultz and what he could possibly become, the difference between a Russ Westbrook and a Drew Holiday can completely change a series. I mean, you can just win a series on that player alone. So I think getting a possible superstar in Markelle Fultz and instead of relying on a guy like Isaiah Thomas, who's going to be 30 years old, around 29 years old when his contract ends. And then if you're adding a 4-year contract, 5-year max onto that, and he's going to be 35, 34 years old, that's where you're really kind of selling the future for right now. And I don't know if right now is the right time because, again, LeBron James is the best player in the world. He is so durable. He's a machine. He's the iron horse of the NBA. It's so hard to go up against that, and you really just need to wait until that window has passed. And you can still be competitive. We know that the Celtics are still going to be competitive with the team they have in place. We saw them get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was pretty much overachieving for them. They could still be a playoff team, still be around that 4 to 5, and even top seeds, 4 or 5 at the worst, and you could still be at that 1 through 3 slot. Like you were this year. So I think right now the Celtics, you got to focus on the future. I think going for the right now would be the worst opportunity, the worst idea for the Celtics. I mean, it wasn't a bad trade. I think look at value-wise, it's not crazy to say the first overall pick, Jay Crowder, Amir Johnson, the top 3 protected for Rudy Gobert, Trey Lyles, and first-round pick of 2020 isn't too out of there. But then again, you look at that 2020 pick, if Markelle Fultz fully develops by then, and you still have Gordon Hayward like that, that's going to be like a back end of the draft pick, and that's not going to have that much value. So ultimately, I think, Theo, you laid out a nice idea. You explained it well, but ultimately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's a lot of fantasy basketball taking place there. And next up from the Laker video, we have Tyson. That was the most upvoted comment on that video. He says, the Lakers shouldn't take the gamble trading anything. This is Melo all over again. Why deplete our assets when we can just sign him as a free agent and actually have a decent young team for him to come up to? And that's pretty much what we said in that video, Tyson. I mean, I agree with you completely. I think that's what we said in that you have a year pretty much without Paul George. And that will let the team and the young core kind of develop, kind of grow together, come up and go through the struggles of playing. And then you have a guy like Paul George who can come in and bring veteran leadership into that. And you still have guys like Luol Deng who can help those rookies and those young guys come together and mold as a team. And then you have Paul George who can come in there and really take them to the next level. So I completely agree with you there. Again, I don't know if it's Melo all over again. I think you're just really saying, why trade from him now? You can get from a free agent when the Nuggets did make that trade. I think this is going to be completely different, though, because you look at Melo. I think Melo was a fantastic player at his prime. I think he's a fantastic scorer. But I think maybe Melo might be more of that Russ of his era. I mean, obviously, Kobe's more like that, the Russ of his era, because he was more of a ball hog and kind of leading his teams. But then again, Kobe was fantastic at doing that. Kobe was more like Michael than Russ. I think Melo was more like Russ, where he tried to do too much and maybe he didn't have enough talent around him, and he didn't have enough talent himself to do it completely by himself, but he felt like he had that. Looking at Melo, though, again, I understand what that situation is and what you're saying, but Paul George is way younger than Melo was. And also, just looking at that, I think Paul George, at least he's better defensively than Melo was. Melo is easily a better scorer than what Paul George is currently. But then again, he adds a different player type to that team than what Melo brought to the Knicks then. And I think that Paul George is a great fit for that Laker team, and it's going to happen when he becomes a free agent, because I don't think he wants to stay in Indiana no matter how much money he can get from that max contract. I think he's going to be enticed by that Laker young core and also going back to play for his hometown. So Tyson, thank you for the comment. Let's go to the next comment. Swaggy Mamba said, or what if you have a lineup of Ball, D'Lo, George, Ingram, and Randall? That's pretty nuts. That's not going to happen, because you look at Lonzo Ball is 6'6" point guard. You look at D'Angelo Russell, a 6'3" shooting guard. You look at Paul George, who's probably going to play the 4 in that situation. A 6'8", 6'9", 240 guy who's good both offensively and defensively. Ingram, who's a stick and play 3, and then Randall, who's 6'9". I mean, that's completely undersized there. That's a lot of small ball there for guys that aren't the greatest shooters from the outside. You look at why small ball works, and it's because of great passing and great shooters on the outside and spacing the floor. But you look at Julius Randle, he's not a guy that's going to hurt you at all. He's not going to be a guy that can step out from 3 and do a lot of damage. Lonzo Ball, I worry a lot about his shooting motion and his shooting range. We always, I mean, not his range, but you look at the shooting motion exactly. He has a lot of range, and we've seen the range in college, but really, can he do that consistently? Can he set up and be a spot-up shooter? I don't really know if he has that in his asset. You look at D'Lo, he's more of a guy that can shoot from the outside, but he's going to be a guy that really wants to create and create his own shot rather than be a spot-up shooter. Brandon Ingram and Paul George, I think, fit into that situation. But then again, I think it's going to be a lot of moving pieces, and I don't know if that small ball lineup's really going to work for him. They definitely do have the coach, and he has the coaching experience. Obviously, Luke Walton coming from that Golden State mentality where they did used to run small ball with Iguodala, Curry, Livingston, Clay, and Draymond. They obviously do have that experience there, but I don't know if this is the right pieces to do that. I don't know if Randall's going to be the right guy to be in that situation. I think you need a guy who can shoot from the outside, because you look at that team on the Warriors, all those guys can hit from three, and really the guys on the Lakers, again, I brought up the part about the ball and his shooting motion. I don't know if that's really going to work as a spot-up shooter. D'Lo's not a guy that really likes to be a spot-up shooter. He's a decent shooter. I think he can fit into that mold, but I don't know if that's really what he feels most comfortable with. And Julius Randle isn't going to be a guy that can knock down threes like Draymond Green can. So ultimately, I think it's going to be a nice lineup, but it's more something that might work in 2K than something that would actually work in the NBA, because, again, you look at the lack of size on that team with Julius Randle being so small. He's a great rebounder, has a great motor, but I don't know if he's going to have enough size to go up against guys that are 7 foot or over. I don't know if he's going to be able to defend those guys as well. He's not that great of a defender. I don't know if you're going to be able to mold him into a fantastic defender going up against guys like LaMarcus Aldridge, who can just take him into the post and just completely destroy him. So, and let's move on to the LeBron video. We have Nolan Pratt, whose picture is Bill Cosby, of course. I think he used to be a different commentator, but he changed his name. He said that, "I'm a LeBron guy personally. I just think purely as a basketball player, he can do so much more than Jordan. He shoots the three better, passes better, rebounds better, is more versatile defender, and much more durable than Jordan." And I have no gripes with that comment at all. I have no gripes in what you said there, Nolan. I agree with you on every single thing. I just think the thing that Ricky was trying to say, and why he still thinks Jordan is the GOAT, is because of what Jordan was able to do on the court. I look at this, I don't think Ricky's going to deny this at all. You look at the build and what LeBron can bring to an NBA court, I think he has more, I think Ricky might be hesitant to say this, but I think Ricky would say that he does have more skill than Jordan, but Jordan had something that really you don't see on a basketball court every single day. He had that killer instinct. He had that ability to be a leader, where you look at LeBron, Ricky would probably take that natural leadership and that killer instinct from Jordan rather than LeBron. I think Ricky is more of a guy that likes scoring. That's why Kobe and Jordan are his go-to guys. I do like the ability of LeBron, where he is the greatest athlete that I've seen. He's such a great passer. He's so versatile. Like you said, he's a great defender. He can shoot the three. I like LeBron, and I've grown up watching LeBron, and he's just one of the most exciting players that I've seen. And you also look at LeBron. He's been able to do it. I mean, 7 straight finals is absolutely ridiculous. That's something Jordan wasn't able to do. That was maybe more because he had that gambling problem, and he also was pushed away and was pushed towards baseball. If that's what Ricky wants to say. But he didn't have the chance to go to 7 or 8 straight finals where LeBron has. So I think that, from a pure physicality standpoint, from a pure athlete standpoint, LeBron is a better athlete and a better, at least prototype for a basketball player. But then again, it's kind of the reason why I like Tom Brady so much. He's not the best athlete. He's not the best player on the field consistently, but he has the most heart. He is the best leader, and that's why he wins championship. And I think that's something that Ricky was drawn towards, because as a young kid, we were all drawn towards winners, and at least looking at the NBA, the winner, in my mind, has been a guy like LeBron James. When Ricky was growing up, that guy was Michael Jordan. So I think it's something where you also have to take in the fact of when you grew up, what area you grew up in, and who you're watching when you're growing up. So personally, I was watching LeBron. He's the greatest athlete that I've seen step on an NBA court. It's going to be tough for anyone to overcome that. You look at Ricky, Jordan's the best guy that's ever stepped on the court and graced the court for him. And the next and final comment is Greg Taylor. He said, "Nobody ever talks," and real quick, just before, Greg didn't put any commas, so this is going to be tough reading. Greg said, "Nobody ever talks about LeBron had no help at all the entire term of the Cavs. The first time LeBron was there, LeBron's team were always too good and can never get a top 15 draft pick. Jordan, on the other hand, kid Scottie Pippen in his second season, who was a top 5 pick. Jordan also had Dennis Rodman, ironically the same man who completely toasted Michael for 2 years with the Bad Boys before the 90s, where Jordan finally arrived. Also, Jordan's competition was completely weaker than LeBron's. Jordan's greatest competition was Magic, Bird, and Dominique, who were all old and bodies breaking down by the 90s, therefore gave Jordan the green light to win and dominate in the manner he did. I love Michael Jordan just as much as the next person, but I'm sorry, LeBron is just better in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's all based on who you preference, kind of like the debate about Tupac versus Biggie. It's all about your style and opinion." So that was a super long comment, Greg, but I completely agree with most of what you said there. It's pretty much a lot of style and preference. It's kind of what I kind of referenced to with Nolan. It's when you grew up. It's who you saw winning, who you really were captivated by a young player. I was captivated by LeBron James. I was like 6 or 7 when he was a rookie. You look at Ricky, he was like 6 or 7 when Jordan started winning titles. So it's kind of when you grow up, what you were really accustomed to watching. So that's kind of what we come from there, and I completely agree with you there. However, where I disagree was Scottie Pippen was picked 5th overall after a trade with the Seattle Supersonics. That was 3 years after Jordan. So that wasn't like something that was, we saw the thing with Jordan, we needed a trade for a guy like Scottie Pippen. That was more when Jordan was still growing, that team was still growing. It still took them 3 years to make it to a finals after Scottie was brought onto that team. And then you look at the Dennis Rodman part, he was only on the last 3 championship teams. So that was something where Jordan came back and then they added Rodman. So that was something where I don't know if they really, I understand what you're saying, that I agree that LeBron had more help on his first term, but you look at that the Rodman was second term for Jordan. That was after he came back from baseball. In the first term, the Pippen was an addition that still took them 3 years after they added Pippen to get to the finals and win a finals. So it's something where I agree that LeBron didn't have any help at all. From 2003 to 2010, didn't have any help at all in Cleveland. I mentioned it. His best player that he was playing with was Zunis Ilgauskas and Delonte West. I mean, those were players that aren't going to take you to the next level. He didn't have those killer guys that he was playing with in Miami, and Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Ray Allen, Mike Miller, all these players. He wasn't having that supporting cast around him, where you do look at Jordan when he ended up winning a championship. He had Scottie Pippen, who was fully developed. He had B.J. Armstrong. He had Horace Grant. He had all these players helping him out. And then, in the second term, he had Dennis Rodman. He had Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, Michael Jordan himself helping him out. That was, I don't know why I said Michael twice there. Anyways, LeBron did have less help in his first term compared to his second term in Cleveland, but Jordan didn't have that much help in his first 6 years. I kind of phrased that wrong, but I hope you guys understood what I said. But anyways, those were our comments for the week. Don't forget to go to all of our fast breaks and leave a comment. We'll put you in this video. I know Bridget Johnson wanted to be in this video, but you didn't say anything clever, Bridget, to put us in there. So we want to put you in there. We want to get you guys included into this. We want to keep this conversation going. That was Ricky's idea when he started this, and we want to keep it going. We want to keep these conversations going. We got a lot of great topics coming up this week for you on the Fast Break. We have Spurs and CP3. We have a finals preview. It was 25 minutes long, 30 minutes long. It was absolutely fun to record. And then we have Brandon Ingram. How do they build around Brandon Ingram in Los Angeles? We had some great topics. We hope you have some great comments to go along. So don't forget to go check those segments when they come out. And don't forget to check out the full podcast over on Blog Talk Radio /The Fast Break. Also, if you want to just tweet us some comments as well, we love that too over at Most Valuable Pod. But anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and check out patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.